So I'm here today to chat a little bit about something that is probably for most people the most challenging situation that they'll go through: the loss of a spouse. And I've obviously never been through this situation, but I cannot imagine the range of emotions that someone must go through when their life partner passes away. It's a challenge that I help people with all of the time, but it's not something I can relate to personally, and that's one of the challenges that I have when trying to help people out. And I never lose sight of the fact that one of my roles in my clients' lives is to remove the emotions from their financial decisions. And there's no more emotional time than dealing with a spouse that has recently passed away. And it's especially challenging for the surviving spouse if they were not the one that took care of the finances or the bills or things of that nature. And so I can't even begin to understand, what they're going through in those initial moments. But what I can do is I can take as much off of their plate as possible, because I can't even imagine how challenging those emotions and that grief must be, while also trying to navigate every single thing that you need to navigate when it comes to the new life you're about to take on. So it can be a challenge sometimes. And when people sit down and initially, try to come up with a plan, and maybe they have a trusted confidant with them, family, friend, brother, sister, parent, whatever it may be, it's tough to understand what's a priority, what needs to be done now, what can wait a little while, what can wait a year, what should I wait until the end of the year to do, things of that nature. So today what we're going to talk about is the top 5 things that you should do when you find yourself in a situation where you're a widow or a widower, and either one of those is going to be synonymous with the other when it comes to these 5 things. So first and foremost, you want to take complete stock of your overall financial situation. And this is one of the things that I preach to couples today, and why financial planning is becoming more and more prevalent at the market space. Is it really allows couples to get organized prior to those times of need. Again, whether it's the loss of a job, separation or divorce, or even worse, having a spouse pass away. Getting organized ahead of time really takes a lot of this. These type 5 things have typically already been accomplished. So it takes a lot of the guesswork out of it during that emotional time. So pre-planning is always key, but understanding what you have, where it's at, what it can do, what your options are, that's taking stock of your financial situation. And it all starts with gathering statements, going through, if you still get paper statements and you keep those, understanding what accounts there are, what accounts were joint, what accounts were your spouse's, what are your rights to those accounts, and just understanding all of your options is going to be key. And working with somebody, again, someone like myself, or if you already have that relationship, sit down with them, they're going to have experience that they can tap into when helping people in that situation. For most people, this is going to be the first time that they've gone through a spouse passing away. And every step that they take is going to be new to them. It's a new path, one they've never been on before. So it can be challenging to make those important decisions. So one reason why that is the first step is you can't begin anything. You can't begin a road trip. You can't begin a game of chess without having everything that you need to understand what your next step is going to be. So that's why taking stock of your overall financial position is key. But one thing even more so inside of that is understanding your income. It's still part of that taking stock of your financial situation, but understanding, where's the money coming from? What checks are going to stop hitting the bank account because that spouse passed away? What do you need to do to reinitiate those checks? Think about things like Social Security. If your spouse passes away, you should be eligible for a survivor benefit, which might increase your personal benefit. So it's understanding those key pieces. Also, those decisions on things like pensions and those types of benefits, those decisions might have been made years ago. So you may not truly recall, what your options are or what you're entitled to. So again, having that partner with you that can help make some of those phone calls, get those questions answered, and you just be there as a support system to help guide that person towards where they should, look to, because you've taken stock of your financial situation. So number 2 is you want to establish independent accounts and update beneficiaries. So first and foremost, independent accounts. Those are accounts where it's just in your name. So maybe you had a joint bank account. So you need to go to the bank and remove your deceased spouse as an owner on that account, and it becomes an individual account for you. Things like credit cards, liabilities. If you own your house and your spouse was on the mortgage or on the deed, Those are all things that need to be done to make those individual for you. Some things are more paramount than others. The bank accounts, investment accounts, those should be done immediately. Do you need to take your spouse off the mortgage straight away? Not necessarily, but you also can't put your head in the sand about it and just forget about it and not take care of it. It still needs to be done, but maybe it's not top of that priority list. Beneficiaries is one of those things that typically we find the most issues when reviewing somebody's situation. So it's typically around things that they were unaware of or they had forgotten about. That life insurance policy that your parents took out on you decades ago sometimes might still have your parents as beneficiaries, and you might uncover that when dealing with the situation that your spouse passed away. But some of these accounts are easy to recognize that beneficiaries need to be changed. I have life insurance that has beneficiaries, let me change that. What we don't think about sometimes are things like retirement accounts, especially retirement accounts that are not attached to our current employer. So if you're still working in your retirement, still working and your spouse passed away, not only do you need to update your 401k, but if you have a Roth IRA or another old retirement account that's now a traditional IRA, those also have beneficiaries. So it's not up to you to understand what those things are. It's up to you to find somebody to work with so they can understand that based off of their experience. So beneficiaries is key. If you have a pension, you may be able to change the beneficiary in that, depending whether it's private pension or government based. So number 3 is you need to create and adhere to a new budget. The rule of thumb that I use in financial planning is typically when a spouse passes away, overall expenses are going to drop by about 25%. So about 75% of what you spent before is going to remain in place. And I could already hear some of you saying, gosh, that's high. Like, are you sure it's that high? And statistics show it's about 75% of the expenses go unchanged. So when you hear me mention these things, you're gonna understand why. Well, the mortgage doesn't get cut in half if you have that. Your car payment doesn't get cut in half. Your electric bill, your homeowner's insurance. There's a lot of expenses. Your cable bill doesn't get cut in half. Those don't change. Now, there are some things that will change. A cell phone will fall off. A driver on your auto insurance will fall off. That's not going to cut that bill in half. It's going to reduce it, but not by 50%. So the general rule of thumb is 75% of what you were spending before, that's what you can expect to spend going forward. And that's really going to piggyback into the next step, which once you create and then start adhering to that new budget, you now need to build or rebuild your emergency fund based off of that new budget. Rule of thumb, again, broad brush, it's going to be 3 months worth of expenses. So if your expenses are $10,000 a month and your spouse passes away, you can assume your expenses going forward are going to be about $7,500 a month. So when you're looking at 3 months worth of those expenses, you're looking at $22,500 in cash or cash equivalents and need to be liquid for you to have access to. I always recommend when someone passes away like that be a little bit higher because inherently we're all humans and we're going to make mistakes. We're going to forget about bills that needed to be paid because you weren't taking care of everything before and now you are, and things will slip through the cracks. So it's nice to have an extra chunk of cash that's going to help offset some of those, wow, I didn't pay this bill for 3 months, I better get that taken care of. But that emergency fund is going to be key. And the biggest reason why it's going to be key is it's going to give you peace of mind. There's already a lot of stress. You just lost a spouse, you're trying to figure out your new life, what does your day-to-day routine look like, trying to look at income sources, things of this nature. You don't want to add any stress onto that situation that you can avoid. And financial stress tends to be one of the bigger stressors when it comes to reorganizing your life as a single person now after your spouse passes away. So having a strong emergency fund is going to alleviate a good portion of that stress. Heck, it alleviates a good portion of stress when you and your spouse are still living. So it's even going to be more compounded when that spouse passes away and there's a reduction in income and potentially reduction in assets, depending on what's in place before that spouse passes. And then the last piece is you want to plan for new long-term goals and seek benefits. So let's talk about each one of those separately. When we talk about seek benefits, when a spouse passes away, it could impact your benefits, especially if that spouse was let's say they were a federal employee and they're using the federal employee health benefits plan. Depending on what they elected when they retired, you may or may not be eligible for those same benefits. It's not a guarantee. If that spouse was a military veteran, but they were disabled, you may be eligible for a great deal of benefits you weren't even aware of. It also depends a lot on from a benefit standpoint, what did they elect for their pension? Did they have a private pension or a government pension? What are your health benefits going to look like? Medicare, supplements, things of that nature, vision plan, dental plan. You may have been paying for your spouse's benefits as well, and some of those need to go away. So it's understanding where your health benefits, pension benefits, new Social Security benefits, if you're eligible for that as well. It's getting all those boxes checked in a organized way. And the other piece to that fifth point that I was making is the long-term goals. So if you're still working, does this impact your retirement date? If you had a financial plan in place beforehand, more than likely it will not impact that retirement date. But if you didn't, then you may need to work longer. You may need to be in a position where you no longer want to work longer. Maybe you're involved in a business and things change that way. But regardless of what it is, you want to understand what your new long-term plans are going to be. One of the best ways to kind of exit respectfully kind of out of that grief phase is going to be finding new things that can help take care of yourself, self-care, taking care of your mental health, your physical health, getting out of the house, spending time with friends and family. That can all be, part of that long-term plan. Who's going to be that monthly coffee date that you have? Who's going to be that one that goes on hikes with you? All the things that you enjoy doing, that you enjoyed before and you're going to enjoy going forward. Who do you find to be that, your partner in crime when it comes to that stuff? Those are the long-term plans you're looking at. Far too often, we stay in that grief phase a little bit longer than we need to be for one primary reason. It's because we fail to plan. We are simply, our life has been thrown in the air and flipped on its head, and we don't know what the next step is. You're not expected to always. That's why you hear me preach all the time. Find a professional, get that person in your corner, and let them guide you. They should be the ones that are challenging you. Hey, let's get out of the house. No, we're not going to meet in the office. Let's go to the cafe and have a cup of coffee and have a conversation there. And it's going to be to help you understand that today's the day to start taking some of those steps forward to begin that new life. Now, granted, it wasn't a life that you chose, but it's the life you're presented with now. And part of this, suddenly single program, whether it's through a passing or through a divorce or a separation, is that we are making some very tough decisions at some of the most challenging moments of our lives. And it is impossible for those to be easy. So when something is difficult, having somebody help you with that is typically always the best approach. Attacking something that's very challenging, but then trying to do it on your own. Just like I would tell, my daughter, you're setting yourself up for failure. And anytime you can avoid doing that with any situation, even if it's procrastination on her part, right? You don't want to you do not want to set yourself up for failure. So put yourself in a position to set yourself up for success. Get that person in your corner to help make those decisions. But that's the topic for today. 5 key pieces to help you during that transition after a spouse passes away. Hope you found this session educational and valuable. Please subscribe. You'll see upcoming videos coming out shortly. And I appreciate all the support and interaction. So enjoy the rest of your day, this upcoming holiday, and be well.